Public hearing. I'll read the announcement. The Board of Commissioners of the City of Mount Juliet will have a public hearing on August 28th at 6:15 to consider the following items on second and final reading. I've got 5 listed here, and I'll read these off. One is to amend the City of Mount Juliet City Code, Chapter 8, at 16 offenses, miscellaneous provisions. The second is to waive fees for portables at the Mount Juliet Middle School that is no cost or loss of money to the City of Mount Juliet. The third is remove the requirements to the construction of the greenway between Stoner Creek Elementary and West Wilson Middle School. The fourth is to amend the bidding procedures and the city manager's purchases. The fifth is to amend the fiscal year 2023 board budget for the following items. There's 3 here. One is to appropriate funds for the Lebanon Road Sidewalk Phase 2 project. The second is to increase funding for community grants. And the third is to increase the salaries and related expenses that were accidentally left out of the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget to hire a full-time deputy planner. If you have any comments on any of these 5 items, I'd invite you to come forward and address the commission. All right, seeing no one to make a comment, I will close this public hearing. We'll reconvene for our regular meeting at 6:30. Good evening. Welcome to the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners. Today is August 28th, and I'll call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. We have all five commissioners or all five members of the board here present, so we'll proceed with conducting the business. So I'll just begin by welcoming you. I thank you for coming out tonight to the meeting. My name is Mayor James Manus, and on behalf of the commission and staff, I just want to welcome you here to tonight's meeting. I'll say Tennessee law gives every Tennessean the right to attend the commission meeting, to observe how the government is doing business, and we appreciate that each and every one of you has prioritized and taken the time tonight to be here with us. So with that, we'll move into our first order of business, which is to set the agenda. Is there any objections to setting the agenda as published? So without objection, we will set the agenda as published. We have nine items on unfinished business, 5 items under new business. If you do not have a copy of the agenda, it is in the wire baskets. You can grab one by the door. If you're watching remotely, the agenda is available as well online, and your agenda is kind of your guide to the topics that we will be covering tonight. So with that, our next item is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd ask Chief Hambrick, sir, if you would come forward to the podium and lead us in the invocation and pledge, please.
Let us pray together. Holy Father, we come tonight, and Lord, we come in your presence. Lord, before we ask anything of you, we just say thank you for your grace, for your mercy, Lord, for your love that you've shown and extended toward us. Now, Lord, we pray that you would forgive us of sin where we've failed you. And Lord, we pray for wisdom tonight, for knowledge and understanding, Lord, godly wisdom that we seek. Lord, we thank you for being able to and privileged to serve this city, Lord, in the capacities that we do as we serve. Heavenly Father, we pray for strength. We pray that this city, Lord, would just be blessed of you. Heavenly Father, we seek the welfare of our city, and we pray that our citizens, Lord, would prosper and be blessed even as their soul prosper. And so we just invite you, Lord, to have control tonight, Lord, and in our lives. Heavenly Father, we want to represent you and represent you well. And so we thank you for establishing, Lord, government and establishing our lives. Lord, you are making creator, and we worship you. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray tonight. Amen. Join me in the pledge of our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief Hambrick. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, and this is from our previous meeting on August 14th. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Got a motion and a second. The item's on the table. Any questions, comments, or changes? And I'm going to look to the city recorder. I believe you probably already updated the one I sent. Okay. All right, any questions or comments before we vote? All in favor of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes by a vote of four for, and 1 abstention. So, next item on the agenda is citizen comments. Before I open the floor, I'll read this real quickly. In order to conduct efficient business-like meetings, the commission has adopted a few rules on how this will be conducted. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, to ensure all points of views are heard and considered, and provide a common courtesy. In a few minutes, I'll get to that spot where we'll open it up, but pursuant to City Code Article 2, Section 220, you'll be limited to 3 minutes. We'll ask for your name and address for the record. But I ask that also at the beginning of the presentation that you please address myself, the mayor. If you have any questions or anything like that, the board's under no obligation to respond to questions. But if need be, I will have either direct someone from the staff to get with you or address it from the table here. But please avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or any other inappropriate conduct. And once the citizen comments input portion of the meeting is over, the commission will proceed with the remainder of tonight's agenda, and you are welcome and encouraged to stay for that. Again, thank you for attending, and we're glad to have you here. If you'd like to, at this point, to address the commission, please come forward to the podium. All right, seeing none, we'll move on.
Sorry, I'm not as fast as I used to be.
That's totally understandable. Can I get your name and address, please?
My name is Meg, and I live at 1403 Barrett Drive.
All right.
Here in Mount Juliet.
All right, you're recognized for 3 minutes.
Okay, I have something written, so if I'm looking down, I'm just reading. To the the BOC directors and affiliates. Hello, my name is Meg, and I'm a resident of the Mount Juliet community. I am writing to you with multiple inquiries I hope to be clarified with the knowledge and leadership provided by your commitment to the Mount Juliet community. I've lived here for 3 years, and I have to express some disappointment in the lack of city-provided community amenities I find myself having conversations with other moms and with young children, and I find that we share the same sentiment as me. My concern is with Charlie Daniels Park specifically. I'm a pediatric healthcare worker in this community, and I hope to shed some light on some of the following research. As part of this national study of public playground equipment and surfacing the national program of playground safety and conducted safety testing on various playground surface materials, the study of injury rates at different fall heights. And our study revealed that equipment above 8 feet is close to 3 times the injury rate compared to shorter equipment. Per the Tennessean, described the following playground. The new playground will have two 20-foot towers, 15 slides, including 2 12-foot tube slides, and 22 climbers. The play space will feature a freestanding, nearly 13-foot tall Berliner Cosmo climber. So my point to all of this is that once you get on a busy day at Charlie Daniels, 50 kids, this equipment has no longer become safe. And we have no way of regulating how many kids are in this playground. And my other issue is that I do have a young daughter, and there is no gate at the toddler park. And I understand that this gate will cost a certain amount of money, but I feel that because the park was placed so close to the parking lot, I don't know if there's a number I would put on the safety of our children to fix and remedy this issue. So I have a lot more I would say, but I'm just going to wrap it up. That I have a question. I know that there was recently land purchased. I think it's on Clemens Drive, and I would really like to know if the focus of this new land is to serve our younger community and what the intention is with this land. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else to address the board of commissioners? All right, seeing none, we'll close citizen comments and move on to commission reports and comments. And we'll start with Vice Mayor Trevette.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, thank you guys all for coming out here tonight. And for the folks that are online, obviously there is a lot of discussion about what we have for our students, as well as our kids that are going out back and forth to the park. So, ma'am, thank you for your concerns. And I agree that there's a lot of things that, that we could be looking at to improve when it comes to the safety of our students. I would also ask that we also look at making sure that as parents that we also help moderate that, because again, that's the biggest concern there, is that we don't let our kids just run out and just jump in the middle of the road as well. So, but absolutely, there's a lot of different things that we could be looking at, and I'll definitely reach out to our parks director to see what we could do to either look at, like what we're looking at, padding and so forth. So I just want to go ahead and put that out there. Would like to also reiterate back to our parks. September 8th is movie night at 7:40 p.m. at Charlie Daniels as well. So that was a great segue for me to roll into that. I believe it's Turning Red, which I've been fortunate enough to see that that movie with my kids. Is pretty good. So hopefully you all enjoy it. Also, the fall community yard sale is September 30th. Another plug there for our parks and our community at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then, of course, the last movie of the season is going to be October 6th. And as we're wrapping up this summer, I start noticing last night our nights are, like I guess our nights are getting darker a lot sooner. So that's telling us that the weather's going to cool down, but still start looking out there when it comes to safety for our students, as well as, as the kids start to fall into fall weather, we start looking out for the safety for them as they come home from school, because we're going to start moving into that. I know we got a couple more months, but I'd like to just get and throw that plug in there. Those last couple of weeks, I've received multiple calls pertaining to, these past two commissions. So that tells me a lot more people that are plugging in online. These rooms are really packed for the folks that can't see the camera behind here, but this room is packed here tonight. So please continue to send me your emails, your concerns, as well as your phone calls. Those are always nice to get. And hopefully I can respond back as quick as possible to everyone. So if I missed you, please reach back out to me, but my list is empty. Other than that, Mayor, that concludes my report, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next, I'll recognize Commissioner Hefner.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate everybody coming out this evening. Looks like a full house. Appreciate my wife. She's in the back. She came out. Must be a slow TV night. And I do appreciate Meg Warren coming up during citizen comments. That's probably one of the most impactful platforms citizens can and should take advantage of, is citizen comments, not just here, but at also our planning commission meeting as well. We need to hear from you. We want to hear from you as elected officials and appointees on each one of these commissions. So I do applaud Meg. I know she was extremely nervous, but she did a great job. I was out, my wife and I were out traveling a couple of weeks ago. We went to Alaska. I don't see Rocky here, but he gave me a hard time for not bringing him back a souvenir from the Mediterranean last summer. So I told him I'd bring him back something from Alaska, and I took a chunk of Glacier Bay, took a chunk off of one of the glaciers, and it's actually in this bottle because it didn't quite make it all the way back. But no, just kidding. Unfortunately, I was out during the fire. More serious note. Thoughts and prayers go out to all those impacted by Glass Creek apartment fire. It was horrible to see it happen, unfold. It was being kept up to date through text messaging and actually talking to some citizens here when I was away. It's horrible that happened. I want to thank the fire department, our police department, first responders that got there and minimized as much as they could the damage. Thankfully, it didn't spread beyond the one building. I want to thank Mount Juliet for Hope for stepping up as well, as they always do. This entire community for stepping up. MJ Strong is not just something we say, it actually means something to everybody that lives here. Volunteers that stepped up to the plate, as they always do. Red Cross, the local hotels, I understand Patel, one of them or all of them. I think they all own the hotels around here, but I appreciate all of their willingness to put up the victims in their hotels. Also, too, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Maui fires. I don't know if too many people know this or not, but I did live on Maui for 4 years and visited Lahaina quite often, and to see the devastation and still seeing the devastation unfold there is still gut wrenching as the Glass Creek apartment was. Not to the extent of Maui, but thoughts and prayers go out to those victims and family members of that fire as well. I want to congratulate Judge Chandler. I was not here last BOC meeting, so I do want to say congratulations to him. Congratulate all of the annual service award recipients. I think there are quite a few on that list. I'm not going to mention them all by name, but it's probably 30 or 40 of them on there. So I want to say congratulations to all those that received that service award. Food trucks went live August 15th, I believe. I think food trucks went live. I haven't seen any running around the city, so I'm not sure where the flood of food trucks is at, but I'm sure eventually they'll make their way here. And on a last note, this may seem random, but I feel compelled to make this speech. And I think it's important for everybody to hear this. As citizens, we have a responsibility to demand transparency from our elected officials and government institutions. We must actively seek out information, engage in open dialogue, and participate in the democratic process. Likewise, governments must prioritize transparency as a fundamental principle and work to eliminate barriers that hinder access to information. Transparency is the bedrock of a healthy democracy. It empowers citizens, curbs corruption, and fosters public trust. I ask each of the citizens of Mount Juliet to demand transparency from your elected officials, not at the local level, but at every level of government, because without it, things go a bit sideways. So with that, I conclude my comments.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we'll recognize Commissioner Mullally for 5 minutes.
Thank you. My latest newsletter will go out the end of the week, this week. Sorry, got a list here. 3 days in September. I don't have the exact 3 days. Matt, if you might know what they are, you can mention it. Anyway, the parking lot is going to be resurfaced in Mundy Park. So the entire park is going to be closed for 3 days. So I'm going to get a confirmation from Rocky of those 3 days. Do you know what 3 days?
City Manager, can you answer that?
I'll find that out for you.
Okay.
In a second. Gotta look back up a note.
But so that means no football, no pickleball, and no playground or whatever. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. Let's see. 3 things to mention here. Again, as Commissioner Hefner mentioned, thank you to MJ for Hope for stepping up to raise funds and provide homes and hotel and for the victims of the fire, Glass Creek Fire, and our injured firefighter relief fund. And there is still a chance for help if anyone feels led to do so. Just reach out to MJ for Hope. And the Mount Juliet Community Health and Wellness Fair is coming to Charlie Daniels Park in the gym September 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. It's presented by the U.S. Community Credit Union and the City of Mount Juliet. And so just look for that. And pickleball. The city is hosting a pickleball tournament to benefit the Mount Juliet Animal Shelter because they do need some funding. So October 7th is the day. If any of you play pickleball, you might want to go ahead and register because it does have a cap of 150 people. And you can reach out to the Parks Department or the city. They could direct you. It is sponsored by Cedar Stone Bank, and it's called Pickles for Pups. And so the registration is $50. So just if you want to know how to register, you can go to pickleballbrackets.com and search for Pickles for Pups. And that is all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we'll recognize Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to welcome Chief Mark Folks, chief of the new chief of our fire department, and his wife. And if I get this wrong, it's somebody else's fault. Pam, is that correct? So I want to welcome both of you here, and thank them, all of our firefighters, for their service. Our firefighters and our police officers, they are true heroes. When people run away from these items, we have police officers with equipment on and vests on that run to these items, which means that they are true heroes or completely nuts, one or the other. I normally throw in a firefighter joke because I'm a retired police officer, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Just out of respect for chief folks. Next meeting, expect it. Okay. All right. And as Commissioner Mullally mentioned, we are going to have a pickleball tournament October the 7th. Cedar Stone Bank is the sponsor for that. It's going to be the first annual. They've got a name for it. Do you remember? Pickles for Pups. Yes, thank you. Pickles for Pups, because the money that is raised by the tournament is going to go to the Mount Juliet Animal Shelter. So just to let you know, our animal shelter is a no-kill shelter, and we are very, very proud of the service that they provide to the city of Mount Juliet and the residents of the city of Mount Juliet. Sometimes actually, it says the residents outside the city of Mount Juliet wind up getting getting help from our animal shelter. But it's they're good people working down there, and they do a really good service. I am excited. I just talked to Matt White, who is our public works guy, and he tells me that our right hand, we're going to call it a slip ramp for lack of a better anything else to call it at this point, but it's a right hand turn off of Lebanon Road as you're going east onto Golden Bear Gateway. There's a turn lane and a turn lane and a slip ramp. So the traffic that is going east in the mornings going to the school will be able to get onto that slip ramp and go towards the school and get out of the line of traffic. So hopefully we're going to be, expediting the traffic a little bit. In the afternoons, those that are traveling east will be able to do the same thing. Turn right onto Golden Bear, go into the subdivisions, Tuscan Gardens and Stone Hollow, Jackson Hills. You'll have that opportunity, and we're hoping that's just the very first step of many to come, that we will have that road opened up and ready to go. And hopefully it won't be too long down the road. I know TDOT's working with us on that, and our public works and roads guys are working feverishly to make sure that engineering is making sure that that's getting ready for us in a timely manner. So look forward to it. I want to, as soon as, is it Thursday, Matt, if I'm not mistaken, they were talking about it being ready by Friday. I think we were told it was going to be Friday a couple of weeks ago, and then it was rain came in and kind of knocked them backwards a little bit. So looking forward to that. Other than that, that'd be the end of my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much, sir. I got a text here, and it says, "Why did you ignore the lady who asked the questions?" I didn't. I did ask the city manager. I texted him to run back there and get her name and number for to circle up with Rocky. We do already have an update on the gate. It was ordered today, and I can say there is no formal plans that I know of for the land over there just yet. So apologize. I maybe should have verbalized that, but I thank the city manager for running over there and getting that information. And according, I believe, the repave, waiting on the contractor, and a date will be set, and notifications will be sent out as soon as that date is set. I'd also, just to take a moment here, I believe we have Boy Scout troop number 341 here. If you're in 341, stand up. I want to. Oh, all right. So it's got the crew here. And you're here for the Citizenship in the Community badge. All right. Well, thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate you having here. Appreciate your interest in the community and coming to our meetings and seeing how this works out. So I know this is better than anything on TV, and good move getting in before Monday Night Football starts. And with that, I'll recognize our city manager for his comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. For those watching from home and those not able to attend, we appreciate you. Thanks for everything that everybody does. It makes Mount Juliet so awesome. Thanks for the scouts that are here. I was telling the young men back there in the back, when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of money, and I got to join the Cub Scouts for about 2 days. And Mom and Dad didn't have a vehicle to get me to the scout meetings, and that suit or the outfit was huge. But I'd always wanted to be a policeman, so I thought something about that uniform. But I told them, I said, even though I attained the rank of chief in the police department, I never got the opportunity to be an Eagle Scout. And I said, that's something you have to obtain by the time you're 18. And every one of these young men are working hard with their moms and dads and scout leaders and things of that nature, putting in a lot of extra hours a lot of other kids don't necessarily do to learn a lot of other skills. So we appreciate you. We've worked with a lot of Eagle Scouts and Brownies and you name it over the years. It's done a lot of really cool projects in the city. So just know we appreciate you, and especially the moms and dads and the scout leaders that go the extra mile to work with your kids, because I'm envious. I'll never get an opportunity to be that, but some of the greatest politicians in our country's history will tell you probably one of the proudest moments is when they obtained their Eagle Scout ranking, which is pretty cool. And you guys all have the opportunity to do that. So awesome to have you here tonight. A little update on the firefighter. I was talking to the chief, and they've done a really good job about loving on this family, loving on the other people that lost their houses and belongings, pets, and things of that nature. And I'm just blown away by that. Not surprised by it in the least. Just like our elected body here, for loving on these folks. The firefighter is still in the hospital and recovering, getting a little bit better every day. It's going to be a long road to recovery, as everybody knows. So not forgetting and continuing to pray is much appreciated. And again, just blown away by that, and encourage folks to keep doing that and not to forget these folks. They'll be needing things and uplifting for a long, long time. Dates for the park is a couple of commissioners asked, and the mayor had asked. We'll know those soon. As anybody's ever known, if you're trying to wrangle up an opportunity to tie down some dates for a contractor, it can be tough, especially this time of year. And but we should have those dates out soon. And our public information officer, Justin Beasy, will get that out there along with our parks director. And just want to thank everybody. Continue to shop locally. I was talking to some folks. We were in a resiliency course last week in Franklin, and was talking to some elected officials there and some other folks that do similar work to what we do here. And they were really bragging on Mount Juliet about our resiliency, especially with floods and our recent fire and the firefighter. And you lead by example with what you do, and there's no real good way to plan for a disaster or something to happen. You just react. And one of the comments I made in that class, and Marty was there with me, is I said, if you hire good human beings, the rest of it will work out. If you hire good human beings, and that's what we've got here. And so, speaking of good human beings, I'd like to ask our new chief, Mr. Mark Folks, and his lovely wife there, Miss Pam, to come up to the mic. And I can't do him justice. Miss Pam, you going up there beside that guy up there. And because she's making a sacrifice as well. Anytime somebody joins your team and comes from somewhere else, this is the gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, and those watching from home, that's going to be leading your fire department and all the wonderful men and women that are involved in the fire department. And this is his wife, Miss Pam. And Miss Pam sacrifices as much as he does, because I understand as a former chief that when you're in that position, every time he goes out, not just for him or his troops, she's probably saying a prayer. And she's probably worried about him, and has been for probably 30 or 40 years that you've been in the fire service in some shape, form, or fashion. That's right. Only him. Only him. That's right. Not Miss Pam. Yeah, not that long. But I can't do him justice. But we, as everybody knows, Joey Edwards is also, and I want to give him a shout out. He's here, our deputy chief. Joey, can you stand up for just a second? I want to thank Joey, because Joey's the one that not only spoke up for this young man and passed on the opportunity to be chief. He said, I'm just not ready, and I want to take an opportunity to wait a few years and serve under someone like Mr. Folks. And I think that's something to somebody to be applauded for. And he's done an absolutely wonderful job wearing two different hats the last several months now. So, Chief, we really appreciate you and everything you've done, and also your comments about Chief Folks. But, Chief, I would do you an in-service if I didn't let you give the opportunity to brag on yourself a little bit about what you bring to the table here. I could do that, and he'll probably be real humble, but I can just tell you this gentleman's got years and years of experience. So, Chief, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. And Mayor, member of the commission, thank you for having me here. I'm very honored to have been selected as the fire chief. And it's really an honor to serve this community. I was, for those of you that don't know, I came over during the tornado in the middle of the night. I think I got over here around 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning after we got the initial calls to try to help as a kind of initial incident command and organizing mutual aid resources. And I remember asking Chief Luffman that night, literally on the sidewalk underneath the cover at the shopping center down the street where we had the command post set up, how many firefighters do you have on duty tonight? And there were 9 firefighters on duty that night. And today we are staffed with 24 firefighters on each shift. And so it just shows you the growth, and it shows you the progressiveness of the fire department's already done And I just hope to be able to add to that and continue the great work that's been done by Chief Edwards and the other members of the command staff of the department, as well as the members of the department in a whole. Great people that I've met in the department in the last few weeks. Great people of the community. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you over the last couple of weeks, and other people with other departments. And I will go on record to state that I met Rocky a week before I started here, and I still came to work here. And so I got a chance to meet Rocky, and he actually gave me a little bit of a hard time, and I gave him a hard time right away. And that was kind of what we got off on the right foot. And so that was actually a week before I started. And but you've got a great team in the city, and the support that we've already gotten. We've been moving offices the last week, but the support that each department gives to each other just shows the magnitude of people, as Mr. Martin mentioned, in this city. And I really am excited to be here and excited to work in that environment, and just overwhelmed with the opportunity to be able to be here. As Mr. Martin mentioned, I have been in this over 30 years now. I started my career with the Knoxville Fire Department in 1990, following my father into the fire service. He retired as a captain. We were able to work together for about 3 years on the department. My son has since followed me into the fire service. He is a firefighter with the city of Franklin. And so he's actually doing kind of following the line of work that we have done. I have my wife of 31 years this coming October. In October will be 31 years that we've been married. We have 3 adult children, 2 daughters and a son that's the youngest, and a wonderful granddaughter who just turned 2, that my wife says all the time that owns us. But from Knoxville, I kind of rose through the ranks and became the assistant chief over special operations and emergency medical services there. In 2006, became the chief of the Greenville Fire Department in Northeast Tennessee. And then in 2015, accepted the position as the chief in Murfreesboro. I retired, kind of stepped away from the fire service last July, and thought it was probably for good that I was stepping away from the fire service, did some consulting, which, involved a lot more travel than I thought it was going to involve at first, and a lot of those things. And then, the opportunity presented itself here because I think God has a way of opening doors and creating opportunities, even if we don't know if that's what's best for us at the time. And I'm just honored and blessed to have the opportunity to be here as your chief. And I can promise you that I will commit to the 2 major things that I'm all about are the safety of our firefighters and other first responders and our employees, and the safety of our community. And if we focus on keeping our citizens safe, everything else will work its way out. And that's what we're going to focus on. And that's what we're going to do as a department, and do that at the best possible of our ability for the city. But thank you very much for the opportunity to be here in front of you. And thank you for the opportunity to serve as your fire chief.
Thank you, Chief. And Mayor and Vice Mayor, Commissioners, citizens watching from home, those here tonight, none of this would be possible without you guys putting public safety first and foremost. To have made the strides we've made in the last 10 years, just like the chief mentioned, just got moved into his offices. That's into the new facility that you all just purchased for the city or supported. Thank you for that. They've already gotten moved in and already putting that building to use. It's for the most recent fire department. It's for the forthcoming police department that we've got. I think it shows where you guys put your hearts and your dedication to putting public safety first. We appreciate that. And I think the chief's a perfect example of why he wants to be as he sees that. And I know the citizens appreciate it. And that showed well most recently with the fire at Glass Creek. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we will move into the business portion of our agenda. We'll start with unfinished business consent. We have 1 item on there. It is item number 8.1, an ordinance of the City of Mount Juliet to amend the City of Mount Juliet Code, Chapter 8, Buildings and Building Regulations, and Chapter 16, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion and a second here. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 8.1 carries. The next item under unfinished business is 9.1, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance 2023-24 to appropriate funds for the Lebanon Road Sidewalk Phase 2 project. Have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 9-1 carries. 9-2, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2002-25 regarding bidding procedures and city manager purchases. Have a motion and a second. The item is on the table. Any questions or comments on 9-2? Let's recognize Commissioner Justice.
I want to point out when we talked earlier, there was the comment was made about transparency. And of course, when you start talking about government and the spending of government, I would like to point out that as tight and cheap as I am, Kenny Martin is probably 5 times tighter and cheaper than anybody I believe I've ever met in my life. So giving Kenny the responsibility of being able to go out and actually make decisions, based on common sense and what just something that has been lacking in city government, that we don't have that lack. We've got a lot of common sense. And so Kenny, easiest thing in the world to vote on is to allow you to make decisions, for a certain price point and to get the bids when they're necessary. So in all transparency, you have done an excellent job up to this point, and I expect you'll continue to do so. So thank you. I have no problem voting on this for you.
And this is to change the point for which he can make a dollar amount. It's a modification of that. All right. All in favor of 9-2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 9-2 carries. 9-3, an ordinance to amend fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance 2023-24 to increase funding for community grants.
Motion.
Motion is second. Any questions or comments?
If I may,
Let's get Commissioner Hefner right back to you.
I noticed that the West Wilson basketball, and I'm not trying to pick on them at all, but I noticed that they requested $30,000, and this is the only time I see this on this list of grants where we're actually giving more than what they requested. So I wanted to first understand, was that a typo, and was that the actual intent? Because they're asking for 30,000, and we're approving 35. If it's passed, we're approving 35. I'd like to ask that we reduce that to 30,000, and then the 5,000 is split. So I guess this is in the form of an amendment to give $2,216 to Wilson Rides and $2,784 to TriStar Volleyball.
I'll second it.
Okay. You got a second. So we got a motion and a second. And could you repeat the dollar amounts again,
I
please,
sure
Commissioner?
can. So add for Wilson Rides $2,216. So it'll make it a 4,216, and then add $2,784 to TriStar Volleyball, making a total of 12,284. So it doesn't change. It's just we're just shuffling it around.
Just moving it around. All right. And that has a motion's been made. It's been properly seconded by.
Reduce it by 5,000. So matching what they requested, which was 30.
Okay. All right. And let's recognize Commissioner Justice.
there was some concern on my part on the TriStar volleyball piece. They had asked for 25,000 and they figured out what the rules were on it. I mean, that, you know, it was a per child price. Well, they included that one season, which is a half a year, that they didn't include the other half of that. So you actually did.
That's part of why I was.
Okay. And the other part of that, and I don't know, you know, if there's will from this board to increase that amount, but to take it up to the halfway mark is 95. I mean, the halfway is 9,500. If we use the same formula for the others, it would be actually 19,000 for all of the kids. So, I mean, if somebody wants to make that motion, we've increased it to 12, but
Are you talking about TriStar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You made the motion to increase TriStar to 12?
That was in his motion, in Commissioner Hefner's motion.
Gotcha.
What I'm asking here is if there's a will here, what I would like to do is to increase that up to the amount that actually takes into consideration the number of kids that actually are in the program.
Do we have that number?
Somewhere,
What does that equal to for each kid?
$25 per child. And that's our ordinance now, so.
So if that's your motion, I'll second.
Just a second, we got some conversations going. You were saying $25 per child, and was there a number that was attached to that, or was that what you were getting at?
Actually, that's what I was getting at. I'd like to find out what that number is. Do we have that in the book here? Okay.
Don't have the,
Is this first reading on this?
this
Second
is-
reading, okay.
yeah.
So
Well, just a suggestion here.
Yes, sir.
If would it be agreeable to maybe table 9.2 to the end of the meeting?
Yes, sir.
And that'll give staff time to get the numbers, and we can come back and pick right back up on this, because I've got Commissioner Hefner's motion here to increase Wilson rides by 2,216 and TriStar volleyball 2,784.
Is there a motion needed for that, to table this for temporarily?
I was going to do it I was going to do it with consent if that was. Is there any objection to moving this to the hill of the agenda and bringing it right back up, giving
No.
staff some time to get that number? That'll keep us moving instead of everybody waiting for people to run around.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So without objection, we're going to reconsider or pull 9.2 back at the end of the agenda, and they're working on the numbers now, and I'll move on to 9.3. 9.3, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget 2023-2024 to increase the funding for community grants. You know what? I just read the same one a second time, but I'm glad you supported me in it. 9.4, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget ordinance 2023-24 to increase the funds for a full-time planner in place of a part-time position.
Second.
Motion and a second. It's on the table. Any questions or comments on this one? Commissioner Hefner?
Just one quick question. Did we hire the assistant planner for the food trucks? Or is this in addition to?
City manager?
Yeah, I can speak to that, Commissioner. It was an error during the budget process. The deputy planner, as we call it, has always been a full-time position, but because of family issues, that particular planner had been put on part-time. And during the budget process, it got converted back to part-time when it should have been left at full, so that when we finally replaced the position. But the food, I think Ms. Hammond may have a comment to make about the food trucks. Is that position has not been.
No objection. We'll hear from Ms. Hamlin.
We actually have not hired that position as of yet. I was waiting to see the outcome of the sunset clause in December before I hired somebody full-time. And then if that were to go away or change, I wouldn't have much, for them to do. So I was trying to be a good steward of our citizens' money and not hire at this time. I was hoping to wait until December and kind of reassess where we were with those food truck permits as we issue them. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions or comments on 9.4? All right. All in favor of 9.4, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 9.4 carries. 9.5, an ordinance to remove the requirement for Wilson County Schools to construct a greenway that would run along the Stoner Creek between West Wilson Middle School and Stoner Creek Elementary. Have a motion? Second. Any questions or comments on 9.5? All in favor of 9.5, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 9.5 carries. 9.6, an ordinance to waive sewer tap fees for Wilson County Schools for the portables at Mount Juliet Middle School that will not result in a loss to the sewer fund. Motion and second. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Hefner?
There's a question about the COs, temporary COs for these portalets. Is that portable portals? Is that issue been resolved? Okay, I'm good.
All right. All in favor of 9-6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Got one nay. Any abstentions? 9-5 carries by a vote of 4-1 by my count. The next item is 9A2. 9A1, a resolution adopting a policy with the Wilson County School System in order for the waiver of fees from the city of Mount Juliet. Have a motion? Second. Any questions or comments on 9A1? Commissioner Justice?
Was skeptical of this particular piece to begin with, this resolution, because I kind of felt like it was actually hinging on something else. But because the other matter with the porta potties or portalets was there first, we actually took that off of the table as far as, so there's no concern here. We get a lot of conversation about, well, what do the schools say? What do the schools say? I don't know how many times we've approved a subdivision or a development of any kind, and they say, what do the schools say? We hope, and for the most part, our development community that comes in here, they have done their due diligence and talked to the school systems and gotten the information needed. When we get that opportunity and we get that information, it makes us feel a little bit better, and we're able to answer the questions better to the community as they ask. And I see Mr. Luttrell's here. And so this is a resolution, and it's a request so that we actually have somebody, a representative, my understanding, from the school board that will serve our city as well in helping us answer the questions about the schools and being able to provide schools without it being a hindrance. And so, I mean, I look at this as a huge positive if it's any way that we could do this, and we can talk with Mr. Luttrell. Thank you again for being here tonight. We'll tell you that, you took over for many here a while back for one of my very favorite people in the world, Dr. Wright. Love that woman to death. But from everything that I have seen and heard, you have filled those shoes and have done a wonderful job. So thank you for your work.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 9A1 passes. The next item on the agenda is 9B1, an ordinance to rezone approximately 34.84 acres of property on Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 5, from RS40 CRC CG to RM8 PUD, and adopt the preliminary master development plan for the bluffs at Cedar Creek. Have a motion? I'll second. All right. The item is on the table. It's under your sponsorship, Commissioner, if you want the floor.
I will tell you that it is under my sponsorship. I made a commitment a long time ago that when there was an issue with a land use amendment, I wanted that issue to be discussed and voted on by the elected body as opposed to an appointed body. And so, I mean, if they came in, somebody come in and asked for it to be brought to the table and talked about in this location, I'm going to do that. I feel like that for the proper representation, that everything needs to be voted on when it comes to land use and planning by the elected body. So that's the reason it's here. I will tell you, I am supporting it because by its very nature, it gives my district an opportunity to bring residents in that will ultimately bring new retail in. It will ultimately bring tax dollars in, and ultimately will keep us from having to raise property taxes. There's not another use for this property that I've been able to see that is going to work. So for them to go down and use the creek and use them, put in a greenway trail and do the things that they're doing, yeah, I believe it's going to be better for my district. And so I'm asking for due consideration on this so that we can see if we can't get this passed tonight for them.
All right. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. And Commissioner Justice, I agree with you. There is something that is needing there. I just wish this project was a little bit further pushed out, just, by a couple of years. Obviously, there's some concerns with the schools, and I do appreciate the developer and their team actually bringing in some numbers. I apologize. I think they're the only ones I did not get to their email attachment this week. So, but I was able to get through the numbers tonight a little bit. Either way, I mean, like our schools, absolutely, it is up to the school board director and their board to deal with the school situation. There's just a lot of, development going on right now that I just really would love to see this project come back in about 2-3 more years kicking off. So that way we can be able to play catch up after our schools are currently with all of their challenges that they've gone through, from the tornado to the insurances and also having to deal with the last minute design with the current school situation. So obviously, like they're jumping through their own hoops with the temporary pods that are out there. That's just some concerns of mine, but that's why I will support this in 2 years, but obviously not tonight. So, but Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is it Commissioner Hefner?
Yeah, I did watch a little bit of this at the airport. And has anything changed? Can we get representation up? Has anything changed? It was deferred because of secondary road access was going to be used as a loading area. What has changed since 2 weeks ago?
Let me get your name and address for the record, please.
Nathan Quinn, 402 B&A Drive, here representing 4-Star
All
on the
right.
bluffs at Cedar Creek. And thank you, Commissioner Hefner. We have not changed anything since the meeting 2 weeks ago. I did misspeak on the secondary access. The secondary access is part of our CRC PUD. It's permanent. It will be built. We have all the easements in place to build both accesses and can ensure that they will both remain permanent and in place, paved, curbed, and well lit.
Do you own that property?
We do not own all of that property, but we have easements in place with the property owner to ensure that we can build those accesses.
Okay. I'd like to amend this because I noticed there's a couple of things missing. One is, if anybody's ever watched or heard, I like to add blasting restrictions on PUDs, given some of the history with some of the blasting companies in Mount Juliet. So I'd like to restrict the blasting to 1 inch per second. And I would like certified notifications to go out 500 feet from the property line to residential and commercial property owners. I would also like to the monitoring or seismograph company that's monitoring the blast vibrations, that contract is held directly with the general contractor and not with the blasting company. That's it.
We have no issues with that, Commissioner Hefner.
Okay.
Commissioner Hefner's made a motion. I'll second that. This is fairly routine that we do this. Is there any objections to just adopting this? All right, we'll adopt the motion without objection. Do you need the floor?
No objection.
Okay. Do you have anything else? If not, I'm going to
Maybe.
recognize the Vice Mayor. We can come back.
Maybe I may have one more.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Since we have a representation up here tonight, there was another discussion of the 3.5 acres of the landlock. Is that something that's going to be covered, or how's that working out for the landowner between those two streets? How's that working out? Because there was some discussion on the last meeting pertaining to a concern there.
To my understanding,
Yeah, 3.5
Vice Mayor,
acres.
there's no issue with the landlock. They'll have full access to both ingress and egress points.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then the last one, which was with that road, I think that was Road F. Is that correct on that back line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with that being the actual, so now that you have the easements, do we have a width that's going to be for that land? I mean, like, I'm sorry, for that road? Is it just the bare minimum, or is it going to mirror the front side there, the front road as well?
I have Joe Haddocks from Civil Site here.
Sure,
so I
thank
don't
you.
misspeak again about the access.
Thank you.
Joe Haddock, CSTG 2305 Klein. Great question, Commissioner. That will be a 24 to 25 foot wide drive aisle with extruded curb each side. That'll serve as the main access or the secondary access point for the community. So 24 foot, as you know, standard width.
Yeah.
If we were to ever add parking to it, say the adjacent property develops, that drive aisle will have to be expanded to 25 feet wide just to meet city code if you have parking off of it.
And then the other road that is in front of it, what's the width on that one going to be?
Oh, that's Matt, what's the standard on the community collector? No, it's the access street. 26 feet wide, curb and gutter.
And are we doing curb and gutter on 24?
Just extruded curb. So it will have curb, just not the same type as the main road.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Sorry.
Commissioner Justice?
There is a conversation that I had with our city attorney. It's been a while back. You may need to refresh my memory on this. We had talked about the state law requiring that a PUD be completed or a substantial completion. Was that 5 years by the state law? But we have the opportunity here to turn that to 3 years, correct? If they agree to it.
If they agree.
Right. If they agree to that, and we put that into the conditions, so that would be an amendment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it'd be their vested right as long as they begin active and substantial construction within 3 years.
Okay.
It stays in force.
I just know that we've had some issues with some development, and it doesn't happen often, but it has happened a couple of times where we've actually approved the planned unit development, and it has not happened quite as fast as I think any of us really wanted it to. I don't think this is going to be an issue, but for this particular project, but I think as a rule, I think we ought to start applying that and ask that the substantial completion, would that be the proper term, Mr. Marchetti?
Substantial construction be started within the 3 years. That's the vested rights aspect.
And what would happen if that was not the case, if they didn't start it?
Then it expires. They have to come back and do it all over again.
Okay, all right. So that would be my motion to amend, if I could, Mayor.
So substantial construction begin within 3 years, else the PUD expires.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me, is it possible to ask for clarification on substantial construction?
No, we'll just let you know when you don't do it. I'm joking.
There really isn't. It's the same thing. It's under the state law for vested rights. You know, it's got to be more than dig a couple of ditches type of thing, but it doesn't have to be, you know, every pad laid or anything.
I understand. That shouldn't be an issue.
So that was a motion. Was there a second on that? Got a second on it? Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion?
Just trying to understand the concern.
Let me get you on.
Sorry.
Commissioner Hefner?
Just trying to understand the concern. I think I know what it is, but I just want to just hear you.
Again,
Commissioner Justice.
thank you. I'm not directing this at them by any shape, form, or fashion. what I am looking at though is that we have had other developments, and you and I had a conversation recently about one of them right here in the middle of town that was approved, but no work had been done, even though the PUD was approved. And so it makes the area that we're trying to make better, look better, trying to create, it's taking that completely, everything that we have done is not coming to fruition. And it takes away the opportunity for somebody to do it, to sell that, to go through whatever motions they need to make to get it done in a timely manner. So I'm not pointing this at them necessarily, but I am asking that we start doing this. I think it needs to be done, put in that they will do this substantial construction completion in a timely manner. And this is the only way that I've talked to Mr. Marchetti. He thinks that we can get it done that way. So this is actually coming from our city attorney.
So, Mr. Marchetti, so PUDs by nature do not come with an expiration date, as it must be built or grown.
Correct.
So they can go on forever and not
No,
get
not
developed.
unless they have vested rights in what's given to them under the PUD, but they have to begin that work within 5 years. So this motion is to reduce that 5 years to 3 years. Otherwise, it expires and they got to come back and do it all over again.
So it's currently 5 years. Okay.
I think that's right.
My only concern with that is, I mean, I like the slow walk, actually, to a degree, especially when we're facing, near capacity of schools that are going to be impacted. School board can't go out and buy land and build new schools, overnight. It takes some time. So to try to fast track, in a sense, these developments, I think it kind of puts a lot more pressure on the school board to find these properties and build these schools so I'm not sure that I agree with the fast track, in a sense, just primarily because of the impact on the schools.
That's a great point, Commissioner Hefner, and we've done a lot of work behind the scenes to utilize some of the information that you put together with staff on all the existing and proposed developments, including ones that haven't been approved.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've determined is, even if they all hit the ground tomorrow, and I'm summarizing, at least the schools that the Blessed Cedar Creek would feed, we would not exceed maximum capacity on any of the elementary, middle, or high schools that we've studied, based on all the information provided in the maps from you and staff.
Where are we at with the capacities for those schools? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, so Mr. Haddix and I was able to, go through that, and obviously we would be right at 5 students under. So that would be where we would be at. Is that correct, Mr. Haddix?
Yeah, at WA Wright, and that's assuming that the proposed unit count in the elementary school zone of 953 proposed units would generate a total of 307 students. So of the 307, we're using a 45.8% distribution for elementary schools.
Correct.
So,
And then and then obviously for West Wilson Central, Green Hills High, and Mount Juliet High, we would be looking just under, let's just say about 350 students. Is that correct for the high schools, according
yeah.
to these numbers here that you shared with me?
I think at Mount Juliet Middle, we were looking at a proposed student.
270, 240,
Yeah.
and then 343.
The Mount Juliet Middle I'm showing 501 proposed because again, the Mount Juliet Middle zone is larger.
Oh, for the middle schools. Okay.
Yeah,
I was looking at the high schools. My apologies.
Yep. Yes. it would the middle school zone would generate approximately 126 new students. When adding that to the current capacity at the middle school, you'd have about 181 student capacity in reserve for the middle. And then in the high school zone, you have the same 501 total students based on the proposed developments, generating an estimated 146 high school students. Adding that to the existing capacity at Green Hill, it would leave you with 193 student reserve capacity at Green Hill High School. Five. Reserve of approximately 5 students.
Can you ask your question again? The mic wasn't
Sorry,
on.
could you tell us what the capacity would be for the elementary school?
It would, with the 140 proposed elementary school students within the WA right zone, take you to a capacity of, or a 660, which would leave you a 5 student reserve for the elementary school. Important to note that the school system recently was approved by the county commission for their new site on Highway 109. Remains to be seen how that would impact zoning and the WA right zone.
Well, we might have somebody in the audience that could answer that question, if he doesn't mind.
Let me get your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Luttrell, 365 Patton Hollow Road, Watertown, Tennessee, here to represent Wilson County Schools. Of course, we've not done final zoning. It's 2 years out, really a year out, so we'll start looking at it. But just to give you numbers, I feel like that we will be alleviating currently approximately half those students at West Wilson, which means then I will have to go to the board and we'll be looking to shift zoning to fill up those spots. But you're minimum 2 years away from opening that building.
West Wilson Middle?
The one off 109.
The one off of 109. Okay.
Director, I apologize. I'm getting some very bad personal information regarding a relative. Could you repeat that? I don't mean to tune you out, but it's, I'm sorry.
We have not completed zoning for the new school off 109 on Double Log Cabin Road. Usually do that about a year into construction. That would be the timetable. We are looking at numbers currently. We're still setting on these numbers, then we'll update where we're at capacity wise. We made a shift last year in zoning. So, but just what we're looking at as we prepared to build that building, we knew we would be relieving approximately 50% of those students at West with the new school. What that will do, then you will start rezoning and moving schools to keep your capacity where we want it to be.
So, apologize again, but so you're saying you're at least 2 years from being
Correct.
under a threshold for capacity on that?
Well, of opening that new building.
Opening new building, and then when the building
That'll
gets
be the
there,
big
you're going to
relief,
shift
yes.
and offer some release.
But, and I'll just say this, our job is to educate students. I've made this comment to several of you. I can tell you my experience, every building we're opening within a year, we're seeing that capacity level increase. And that's just due to the mass influx of population that we're seeing. And I do not see that stopping regardless of what we do.
Okay. Any other questions for the director? Well,
Yeah, I just got a quick question.
go ahead. Vice
First of all,
Mayor.
thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate you. You tell a great story. With that, those percentages, what are you seeing just, from last year to the year before? What kind of growth did we see just in our schools?
Last year, total number in the year was 700, 500 and some. Don't hold me to the exact numbers. Don't have them in
Sure.
front of me. We're 500 and something up from where we ended the last school year already. And that's why we're still working with numbers. We usually wait to the 20-day mark of school, and that gives us a better feel. But we already know we're going to be up 500 plus to start the school year. And then it historically the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen that number increase throughout the school year.
And And I was just kind of looking this past weekend while we were driving. Our schools have actually gone down in numbers at some of our schools
They have because of rezoning.
because of rezoning. Okay. And with our classroom sizes being maxed out, the influx of students coming in, the lack of teachers, is that factoring anything in there as well, or is that just the rezoning?
Rezoning helps was the biggest change. Uh, as far as there is a nationwide shortage of teachers, but we currently, as of last Friday, we had 33 opening certified teachers. We're still receiving applications, which is not a lot different than we were last year. And when you look with what we're seeing, this business is just changing because of the teacher shortage, of permitting of teachers. I'm just going to say it. Everybody wants to be in Wilson County, and you're feeling that. We're feeling that. But it's a testament to these communities in our county and what's going on. So I just don't see it changing regardless because people are searching us out.
Well, I'll just say one thing because I heard it here tonight, the compliment of you doing a great job. I know you are kicking butt because me and you talk at least once a week, if not every other week. I appreciate you and thank you for always being available to me and everyone else that reaches out to you. So good luck. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mullally?
Yeah, just a quick question, and you can correct me if this is not right. The way it works on capacity, once a school reaches 85%, the school goes out and looks for property for new schools.
When it gets to 85%, we start having discussions about what action to take. Now, where we're at on property, we do have some more property here in Mount Juliet on Golden Bear Parkway that will handle an elementary and a middle, we think. So we're better shaped property wise than we've been. But when it gets to 85%, then we start having the discussions. I start leading the discussions of what are we going to do? First thing you look at, what's your capacity at other buildings? Can you rezone to alleviate? That's just a short-term fix. The second thing you do is immediately start talking about, do we need to have property or find property if we don't have it and pick an area that will offer the relief of those capacity levels that are going over 85%. And then you move into the planning phase, the funding phase, and so forth. But
Okay.
85% is the number that we do use when we say we've got to start looking.
Okay, so as far as this development, the capacity was already over 85%, I'm assuming. So the ball was already rolling for that. So this development would not it's already over that threshold.
Well, that threshold is what led us to securing property and funding for the new school off of 109.
109.
So that would have been in that area.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Vice Mayor?
I'm just going to ask you just because I'm a parent.
Sure.
So these rezonings, obviously, let's just say this year, I worked through getting my kids back and forth to the schools because obviously we've gone through many challenges with buses and parents are trying to adapt. When we rezone, how many complaints do you get? I know that's just an open number, but how bad is it for your principals and your staff that have to deal with all these rezonings because how fast we're growing, which is hindering your team? Just kind of throwing out. Is it a big issue or is it a small issue?
It's an issue and it will always be an issue. When you uproot families that have been in the school, have planned to be in the school, that is a real issue and it will always be. I would prefer to never rezone, but that is a tool that is in our toolbox that we have to use at certain times. But we try to keep it out of our principals' hands. We run it through the board. We get board approval. We set the guidelines, who gets to stay, who doesn't get to stay. It's hard for me to say how many, but it is impactful to families. And I realize that, and I sometimes have to be the bad guy and make the recommendation looking at the whole. But the whole time I'm making it, I do realize anytime you uproot families and students that have developed relationships with teachers, administrators, friends, that is a very difficult process.
Absolutely. No, I've sat through many meetings watching you guys go through the challenges where the hallways are packed out there with parents dealing with the same thing. So I hope you guys continue to use that as your last line of resource. And we continue to look at projects like this to be able to slow them down or just hopefully that they push them back out further. So thank you, sir.
Anything else? Thank you. Oh,
Commissioner Justice.
So, Mr. Russell, what you're saying is basically we're talking about this one development right here. It's not going to negatively impact your numbers, correct?
well, you're talking about one. You've
Correct.
got all these over the county we're looking at. We're dealing with this
No,
every day.
you're right, but I'm talking about it's in this area over here. So,
No, this proves one thing: we're building the school in the right area because what we projected is happening.
Perfect.
That's where all the data told us the growth was the highest at the current time was on that 109 corridor, and just so I'm not surprised to see this development, and there'll be others to follow.
it's exactly what y'all planned for.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will add, and Mr. Martin, we I sent you a picture with some of the stats, and I think it was based on the impact fees collected from the county on the rate of development. I think Mount Juliet was like 7%. I don't remember the actual number of what the development is. Our actions here is with the city, at least over the last calendar year or so when that was collected. I'll say the city's not the bulk of the issues that you face, but we do still want to be very mindful of all this stuff, the impact, and do everything we can to support our school system and not put you behind the 8 ball.
Well, and I'll end with this. I'd rather be a county, cities that are growing instead of drying up, because that means opportunities are happening. And does it bring challenges? Absolutely. But it's much better to be in a community where we're having opportunities because of growth and because of what we're doing. So it's just a testament to everything that's going on, including the city of Mount Juliet. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions before he? Yeah, thank you. We don't often get the director of schools here in our meetings to chime in like this. So you see the board. I'm going to make a motion for a 5-minute recess. Is there any objection? We're going to recess for 5 minutes without objection, and we'll reconvene here in just a minute.
All right. I guess we're going to call this back to order. Thank you, folks, for giving us a little bit of time to step away and get some refreshments there. So we're going to move back to line item are we on right now?
I think we're on the amendment to reduce the timeline.
Oh, sorry.
I believe we're on the amendment to reduce the timeline from 5 years to 3 years.
That is correct.
There was a first, there was a second. We had discussions. So I think you can call for the
Yep.
vote. or-
Okay. All right. Is there any more discussion for
Actually,
the three?
if I may,
Yes,
I want to, I'm going to pull that if it's okay with the person who seconded it.
that was Mullally. Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Mullally.
Commissioner Malay?
Yep.
Yeah. So if it's okay with her, I'm going to pull that off.
Okay.
Um,
Are you good with that? Okay. Thank you.
Now, I want to make a clarification, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
Your concern earlier, when we had the concern, was that there was a timeline of 2 years before the school at 109 was up and running. And so during the break, I was able to check on that. And when is the first unit?
Excuse me.
25.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Sorry. There we go. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. The first C of O wouldn't be issued until Q3 of 2025. So we'd be 2 years away from the first unit being occupied, and we'd be 4 years away from the final unit being occupied. So we have 4 years of runway before this community is completely built out and occupied.
So I guess my question is, you're phasing this with how many units would be in the first phase of it?
The first phase would have approximately 100 townhome units, and the second phase would have approximately 70.
I want to make sure they're hearing this. Was one of Commissioner Hefner's concerns. Commissioner Hefner, you had mentioned the 99 number.
Correct.
Actually, in the first phase, it's 100.
Okay.
So that actually, I think, should eliminate your concern there. Is that correct?
It does. I'd like to see it stretched out.
And does that not accomplish that?
No, it does.
Okay. All right.
I mean, the 99 eliminates the secondary road, but at least for that first phase. That's why I was asking about 99, because it eliminates that secondary road access.
I understand.
So, but if it's 100, it's 100.
Okay.
If I may, I'm not sure how to handle this, given the circumstances with the mayor being called away. I think at this point, what I'd probably like to do is just defer the rest of this agenda until we can actually come back as a 5-person group and continue. Is that, Mr. Marchetti, is that
we've got new business. We got the one that's still on the hill for 9-3, and then we have the resolutions. 1, 2, yeah, roughly 5, 6 more items. We just take one at a time. Okay, that's fine. All right.
so the deferrals per one at a time? Okay, so I'm going to ask for this for a deferral on this, just one meeting.
Okay.
Commissioner Justice, we'd only ask for any additional comments that the commission may have. Any additional comments on the community so we can work on them in the next 2 weeks for deferral?
At this point, because there's been a motion for a deferral, and I don't know if we have a second or not, do we?
I'll second that.
Okay. Really, the only thing would be that we could debate would be the time. If there was a critical time element that would negate us being able to do that. That's the only debate.
Okay.
So I would, we've got a motion and a second for the deferral.
Is there any other discussions? Okay, we'll go ahead and call it the vote. So all those in favor to
Defer one meeting?
defer one meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye. No, ma'am.
No. Nope.
No, you and I pulled ours.
And oh yeah, I'm sorry. Any opposed? Any abstention? So were you for? Okay, okay.
3-1.
So 3-1. Okay, thank you. All right, next line item is new business. 10.1, resolution to declare the city of Mount Juliet property and the Parks Department as surplus to be disposed of all governmental actions.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor for approving 10.1 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, 10.2 resolution approve the attachment to the master agreement between the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and the Water Management Services LLC for the Equalization Basin, Lebanon Road widening sewer relocating and Golden Bear Gateway widening sewer relocating and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement.
Motion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor to approve 10.2 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you. 10.3, a resolution of the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor and the city manager to execute the amendment to the agreement by and between the city of Mount Juliet and the parent company to establish a guaranteed maximum price for the phase 1 work for the police department headquarters facility. A copy of said agreement being attached hereto and made a part of this resolution by reference.
What page is that on?
That was page 4, 10.3 resolution.
Got it. I got it.
It's motion. I'll second that. Any discussion?
Again, this being something I think that the mayor should participate in, I would ask we defer this one meeting just to get his input.
I'd like to see if we can get some type of representation.
Sure. I don't want to speak to the mayor, but we did have good, positive conversations about it.
Awesome. Yep.
Additionally, the scope of the work, when we did the bidding for the structural design, it did actually come in under what was presented to you for the structural work package. What increased it was the need for micropiles to support the structure. So that added about $461,000 to that amount.
If we defer this for one meeting, would this hold up any of your projects or any other?
It would. We wouldn't ground break on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
But
I think,
again, we're trying to build this as quick as we can, but ultimately we want to ensure that we're meeting your timeline needs as well.
okay. Well, as of right now, it's just on the floor. We haven't had a second. So
No, I made the
No,
motion
actually, he
to
made the
defer
motion.
one meeting just for the mayor's input. But I mean, if you're telling me the mayor's had his input and,
I had a conversation before and he said he doesn't see anything wrong. with
okay,
this.
I haven't had a conversation with the mayor or anybody else
Yeah.
about this
But,
other than
yeah.
just what I've seen.
And he asked me on the way out if he needs to bring his hard hat to the groundbreaking on Friday. So
it sounds like he's already got it scheduled. Okay.
Well, if that's the case, then if it's all right with Commissioner Mullally, then I'll pull it, or we can just, I'll just pull the motion to defer. It's all right. Pulling the motion to defer. We'll go ahead and vote on it now. The mayor's already had his input.
Okay. Commissioner Hefner?
I'm pretty sure this is a typo, but did you get my email? It's referencing City of Brentwood in this resolution. Okay. So we can change that. Do I need to make a motion and amend this?
Okay. Thank you. I understand.
One of those boilerplate ordinances we use from a Brentwood all the time.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion for 10.3? All right, let's go ahead and call it the vote. All those in favor in approving 10.3 resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you all.
No, thank you, sir.
Really appreciate y'all's input on this project. Super, super important for our city and police department. And y'all have been nothing but gracious to us and providing all the support behind us in public safety in this community. We're grateful.
Millions of dollars on a pole barn to expand that.
Correct.
That's where this all started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You're
we're
right.
moving in the right direction.
Yeah, this has been a 2.5-year process.
Yeah.
To figure out what's best for our officers and the community.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate all your hard work and everybody that was involved in it.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all Friday at 10.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on down to new business. Ordinance, first reading, 11-1 ordinance to rezone approximately 8 acres of the property on North Mount Juliet Road, East Hill Street, and East Caldwell Street, maps 072H Group C, 0721 Group A, parcel 012.00/017.00 and 01.8.00, 0.19, 0.21, 0.22, 0.24, 0.25, 0.251, 0.2500, 0.27 from the CTC and the RS to the CTC PUD, and to adopt the preliminary master development plan for downtown Mount Juliet City block. Phew, that's a lot of numbers there. Motion second. Is there any discussion for 11.1? Motion to defer. To defer for one meeting. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor for deferring this for one meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. That was unanimous. All right, we'll move on down to 11.2 ordinance, an ordinance to rezone the property known as the Houston Meat and Produce located at 3910 North Mount Juliet Road, map 0454, parcel 164.00 RS 240 to CTC. Second. Okay, any discussion for 11.2? All those in favor for approving 11.2 signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. All right, folks. Obviously, there was a little slight change up here last minute. We wish the mayor safe travels and. Oh, yes. I apologize. I actually got a little tied up. We're going to get move back to, is it, let's see here, resolution. Okay, we're going to move that back to 9A1, resolution. And do we have those numbers for the students? Go ahead, Commissioner.
First of all, I need probably to check minutes. Was there a motion made and seconded for an amendment to the number? Okay, there was.
And we already, and we did vote on that, correct?
No.
Oh,
we did not,
so it's still open.
because Ms. Dana was going to get us the
That's
correct
correct.
numbers, and so those numbers that come back in. So what I'd like to do, there was some question, and I'm saying this is a way of explaining as well.
Sure.
Commissioner Hefner had asked about the $35,000 number, and that number, it turns out, was actually based on the submitted participation rates. So it does follow the ordinance that we created last year. So by pulling them from 35 down to, I think you said, was it 30?
30.
Okay. That actually pulls them under what we voted on as the ordinance. When we had moved the other money to the other locations. The way we can fix that, according to Ms. Dana, you correct me if I'm wrong, but what we would do is change the remainder to be allocated to, rather than $16,928.81, we would increase that ordinance to $22,953.81.
Wait a minute, hold on. Excuse me. Sorry. Are you on now? Let me see.
Yeah. Am I on? Can you hear me?
I hope so. There we go. Let's see if that works.
I had the participation number that I had was initially off. So the 22,953.81 is correct.
So is the new number the 22,953.81?
Yes, that's what you're increasing the community grant budget by in order to accommodate the additional participants for the TriStar volleyball.
Okay. Are you done?
Yes, sir. That's my motion. So I'm asking that to be amended at that point and to move the other numbers back, if that's okay.
Would it Gina, would it be easier for me to withdraw my motion to make the amendment based on the previous numbers, withdraw it, and then come back with a new motion with the new numbers? Okay.
And I believe I second that, so that way we'll be
Okay,
good.
so I withdraw my motion, my original motion, which you second.
Yep.
Okay. Now come back with your amendment
The
with the new numbers.
22,953.81 is what and we're not going, we're actually not voting on this list at this point. So,
I want to make sure the numbers are correct
yes, sir.
in my original intent. So I'll second that. I do have something to say.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's finish up. So your motion is to increase to $22,953.81
The amount of the amount to be allocated.
for the amount to be reallocated. And I'll second that. Or actually, no, that was already seconded by Commissioner Hefner. All right, now we can open up for discussion. Go ahead, Commissioner Hefner.
I just want to make sure we get to the, so what we're doing is we're increasing TriStar to 15,525.
Yes.
We are increasing the Wilson rides as well.
No, but that, I can do that if you want me to, but that's not at this number.
Okay, so my original motion was to take and split the 5 and add some to Wilson ride. Can we add an additional 2,000 to Wilson ride?
You can make a motion to increase Wilson County Road, what do you want to change it to, the 42 ones?
Well, wait a minute here. Let's, if we can, because we still have one on the floor.
Okay.
I just don't want to get any confusion there. So is there any more discussion for the $22,953.81 for reallocating?
Yes, actually.
So what's up for vote now?
Well, you just the increase for the $22,953.81. And I guess this is going to kind of muddy up the waters, because if we're going to increase that number again, I'm going to go back to. Correct. Okay. So let's go ahead and close this one out. So is there any more discussion? All right. All those in favor to approve the $22,553.81 signify by saying aye. Aye. It was unanimous. Okay. And we will go ahead and move on to the next line item. A motion to amend, excuse me.
Second. Well, motion to amend. Adding an additional $2,000 to Wilson rides, which would increase our budget amount to 25,000. No, it's 20. Oh, sorry, 22. For some reason I got 22 on mine. So keep me honest. 24,000. What's the rest of it?
953.81.
953.81.
Okay. So
You want to increase that to what?
he wants to increase, so his motion is to amend to 2,000 for Wilson rides, to increase the amount to $24,953.81. And is there a second? That's for Wilson rides. So there's a second. Now there's room for discussion. Wait a minute, I'm sorry.
4,000.
Okay, so did somebody second?
Yeah, there was a second, and now
You
it's on the
did?
floor for discussion.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a reason why you want to increase this one and not the others?
Because they asked for 4,216. And I mean, I believe in all of these organizations, but I mean, Wilson Ride, I believe, get me wrong, but they drive our elderly around our community. I'm sure they do a lot of other things, but I know that's kind of the main purpose for them. And honestly, anything we can do to help our senior citizens out, I'm in for it. I'm obviously in favor of that. I'm not picking on any of the other ones. That just one happens to be one that stands out. I'm sure there are others, but that just happened to be one that.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Well, the help center asked for 4,000 and we're only giving them 1. So, and personally, I'm a driver for Wilson Rides. I'm a volunteer driver. So I would love to see all these get more money, get more funding, but it just doesn't seem fair to increase this one if you're not going to look at the others.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a motion on the floor. I mean, like that's just a statement. So is there anything else?
Yeah,
you want to
it's
add?
a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't, and I'm just using the the help center just as an example. You said your reason was the Wilson Rides asked for, well, the help center asked for 4,000. We're only giving them 1. And there's many more like that. So, you know, I would like to increase them all, but hard, to pick and choose. And like say, I am a driver for Wilson Rides.
Yes, ma'am. No, I
It's
see
a
your
great
point.
service.
Yes, ma'am. No, I agree. And but at the same time, it'd be great for that some type of representation for these folks here that can come out and wait a minute. Wait a minute. What was it?
I'm withdrawing it. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. The attorney is going to help me out on this one.
If he's asking to withdraw, that needs to come to a vote.
Okay. All right. All right. So real quick, because we got to, so you're withdrawing.
No. I mean, it's just a yay or nay.
Okay. All right. With that withdrawal, we're going to go to vote on the withdrawal.
I think there's some information that needs to be
Well,
had first.
okay.
Before they do this, and
I-
I'm a little confused.
I'd like to go back with the attorney because again, we've kind of muddied up the waters here back and forth. So
It's his motion. He wants to withdraw it, but then the group has to vote yes or no on the withdrawal. And if it's not voted on to be withdrawn, then it continues.
and where do we go with exactly? So where do we go with the discussion question here that just came out?
Is there an opportunity for discussion?
On his motion to withdraw.
Yes,
Yes.
that's my
Okay.
question. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm trying to. Did you say the help center is only getting 1,000?
According to
No.
the page.
Of course, the case I'm looking at right here says help center 5,500. They requested 10,000 and they're getting 5,500. So I'm not sure where we're talking.
I just picked one. It was the one underneath it.
Where you're looking at where?
Sure.
I just picked one. It was the one
Sure.
right underneath the Wilson County Help Center. I wasn't like singling any out. I just looked at the one right below it.
Okay, where is the
Using it
Wilson
as an
County
example.
Community
Wait a
Health Center?
Wait a minute,
located?
guys. So just out of
Vice Mayor?
respect. Thank you.
The only thing that's up for debate is whether or not to withdraw, yes or no.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
All right. So we're going to get and call a vote for the withdrawal. Okay. So, yes, all those that want to withdraw signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Nay.
All right. Thank you. So that's 3-1. Thank you, sir. All right. So now, obviously, Commissioner Justice.
Okay, that's actually what I was going to bring up, the fact that we're talking about the Mount Juliet Help Center, which is getting $5,500 versus the Wilson County Community Help Center. I don't even know where that's at. Can anybody enlighten me? Where? It's
Wait a
in
minute.
Lebanon? Okay, and we're giving a help center in Lebanon $1,000, and we're going to deny Wilson Rides $2,000. That's not, I'm
Wait a minute. Hold on. Excuse me.
But
Give me
not,
1 second. We got to follow because the folks that are online, folks, the mayor does a really good job at going back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and do my best. But the folks that are unfortunately not in the room, they're hearing a lot of back and forth on the, like on the microphone. So we want to be respectful. So if we could just go ahead and make sure, let me know, and I'll be able to turn your guys' microphones back and forth. So Ms. Mullally, Commissioner Mullally, excuse me. Well, my apologies. You guys were going back and forth. So ladies first. Let's go ahead. Commissioner Mullally.
okay. Well, it was mentioned that we're denying Wilson Rides. We're not denying them, but what you're wanting to do is increase them, but not increase anyone else. It just doesn't seem fair. And again, I'm a driver.
Okay. Is there any other, is there any other
That's
questions
the
or
state.
discussion?
Now, the amount Juliet Help Center is, they asked for 10,000. We're giving them 5,500. So if you're using that reason, then wouldn't it apply across the board? Because there's several on here asking for more than what we're giving them.
Wait a minute, give me 1 second. Commissioner Justice.
Okay, based on and I looked at that when I came up with this formula that we use. Based on what you're talking about, it would cost an additional $100,000 to increase everybody up to the same percentages. Okay, so that's not feasible to do that. Number one. Number two, the Mount Juliet Community Help Center has asked for $10,000 every year, and every year they get $5,500. The Wilson Rides is, I think, let's see, we approved 1,271 last year, 2,000 this year, but they have increased their ridership and they have a direct impact on individuals, elderly individuals. So we have an opportunity here to raise their funds significantly and help them. I hear at every chamber, you do too, you go to them as well, and you're a driver as well. We have to base it on impact. A lot of it has to be based on impact, whether it be economic impact or social impact. And Wilson Rides provides us with a large social impact, and to the people that use it, actually a very large economic impact as well. So, the amount of money by raising it $2,000 actually, significantly increases the amount of service that is given to the people that, that need that service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion. I think at this point we are at $22,953.81. Commissioner Hefner had asked for an additional $2,000 to be placed into Wilson Rides. And so I'm going to ask for that $2,000 to be placed into, and that would be my motion for an amendment. And
is there a second? Okay, now it's, okay. Any more discussion to increase the amount? So there's a motion on the table to increase $2,000 to Wilson County Rides, which will increase the first amendment from $22,953.81 up to $24,953.81. Any other discussion?
Just a question out of curiosity, if Commissioner Hefner hadn't have brought that up in a motion, would we even be discussing it?
No.
Just food for thought.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No,
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you. All right, we're going to get a call to vote. All those in favor for the increase of $24,953.81, $2,000 going to Wilson County Rides, and the remainder to TriStar Volleyball, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on here.
All right.
Hold on. Sorry.
No.
It would not? Okay.
No conflict.
Okay, yep.
There's no personal benefit to you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Marchetti. Okay. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you.
may I add?
Give me 1 second. Wait a minute, I just want to make sure that our city recorder has everything down. That was a long line, and hopefully you guys got some white out over there and we're good to go. Okay. All right. Commissioner Justice.
Commissioner Laley, thank you for asking that question, but also thank you for your service to the volunteer drives. I said thank you for asking the question, and thank you for your service to the Wilson Rides. So
Sure.
I appreciate that.
It's a great organization.
I do want to add here, though, if I may, Ms. Dana, we had talked about this, and unfortunately, I did not bring it with me tonight. But there was a resolution passed many, many years ago that our expenditures, as far as the grants, would not exceed 2% of.
I think it's 4%.
Was it 4%?
Tax, and we're not close.
Okay. So we had actually established a guideline to go by many, many years ago, and we've tried to not raise that amount. But as our population rises and the service needs go up, I believe this is a good indicator of how we're trying to keep up at the time. So, to the commission, good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Justice. And with that, before we close out, I do want to, hopefully everything that's going on for the folks that wonder why the mayor just stepped out last minute, family emergency, we wish him well and safe travels. With that, make a motion to, oh, I thought we had already voted. So we voted on. And now we're back on the original resolution, which is amended twice. Okay, yes, twice a minute. So, all right. So with that, and my apologies, that's twice, man. I'm really shooting for the stars here tonight. Yes, it has been a non-night. Yes, ma'am. So, so we're going to go back to the original resolution 10.1, resolution twice amended. Everyone, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'll make a motion to adjourn. All right. With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.